Hey, welcome to a special edition of the Inside the FLX podcast. I'm Josh Durso, and today we're here in the FingerLakes1.com studio with Deputy Supervisor here in Seneca Falls, Lou Ferrara. Lou, thanks a lot for coming in today. Obviously, a lot going on in the community as a whole. A lot you want to talk about today, of course.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, thanks for having me.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room first, the water main break that's on everyone's mind. Obviously, a lot of residents in Fayette, Varick, Canoga, they're saying, hey, when's my water going to come back? When's the water going to come back?
Well, they worked last night until 5:30 this morning. They worked through the night. The pipe was broke right next to the water treatment plant down on Parker Road. And it was a pretty big main feed line. It flooded the area pretty good. They started digging. Halfway down, they got a lot deeper than what they thought. The banks were collapsing on the ditch. They found out through digging the pipe was a lot deeper than what we could do with our equipment. So they had to call in an outside vendor to come in with bigger equipment to find and repair the leak that got Seneca Falls up and running. Seneca Falls, to my knowledge right now, the last update I got from the water department, Seneca Falls is up and running with water, but we still have a boil advisory out there until it's lifted by the county. And I would suggest everybody do that. The advisory is really just to take a precaution in case any parasites or pathogens got into the pipes, and once that's done, we'll be good. The southern end, they didn't fare too well. I believe they're still working on getting the water down to the southern end. There was another break a little bit further on the line that required more attention, and they're working on that now to try and restore water to Fayette, Canoga, the rest of the districts that we serve.
So obviously, tough situation, but a lot of folks have been working overtime throughout the night, trying to get this water situation resolved. Beyond that, though, a lot of speculation in Seneca Falls, a lot of talk around a possible audit or a possible situation where the state comptroller might come in and begin to peel back the books in Seneca Falls. Any truth to that, or is that just myth?
Actually, that is true. The comptroller is coming in. We got a notification from him yesterday. They are interested in looking at all departments. They have a few that they have an interest in, and they've expressed it, and they're going to talk to town councilmen by themselves. They will talk to each one of us by ourselves next week to see if we can shed any light on the issues that were brought to their attention. I was the one that reached out to the comptroller's office probably 4 months ago because I recognized the need to have certain things looked into. As an elected official and not a politician, I feel as though the people of Seneca Falls needed more than what they've been getting.
Right.
And in some cases, people have waited 8 years to have problems resolved that are really ridiculous. And we have since started to work on their problems. But this was just the tip of the iceberg with some of this stuff. And like I say, I have people that have called me that have brought pictures into the office of things that they've seen. They have statements. We have statements from vendors. We have a lot of irregularities that need to be looked at a lot more deeper than anybody on this town board can go with it. And as a sworn official who takes my oath serious, I really believe it's in the best interest of the town of Seneca Falls to have this looked at by the New York State Department of the
Now,
Thomas DiNapoli.
To that end, a lot of people are probably breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief saying, finally, someone's doing it. Why do you think it has taken this long for someone to finally step up and say, okay, it's time for us to seek the state's help in making sure that, the things that have been done wrong in the past don't continue to be done wrong in the future?
I have no idea with that, Josh. I can only speak for myself, and my feelings on it are that as an elected official, stuff like this comes to your attention, I feel as though you don't have any recourse,
right,
but to take it to the next level. And chances are these people and their complaints, their pictures, their documents, maybe they're all wet. It's not up to me to make that decision. Mm-hmm. It's up to me that if a constituent comes to me with a particular issue or a question, and he has documentation to show that he can't get his problem resolved by the elected officials that are sworn to help him, mm-hmm. I feel as though that's an injustice that's done by us as a board, us as an individual board member, mm-hmm. and it's at that time that I felt as though I needed to bring it to somebody's attention.
Okay, so
the other board members or past boards I can't speak for,
right,
but I was told by some individuals that they too had been notified, as was I.
Right. So let's talk about it's budget season, obviously. Yes. Taxes are on everyone's mind. The proposed budget that would, in theory, be voted on by the town board in November, shows a little bit of a tax increase, double from the general fund. Walk us through what you guys have been experiencing moving through the budget process, including some of the workshops and other things that you guys have been doing to get to where we are now in the budget process.
Well, the workshops are being handled a little bit different this year. Mm-hmm. Our attorney and our head accountant, Bev Warfel, the board charged all the department heads and departments to come up with a 10% reduction. And some of them did that and some of them didn't. Everybody has their own items that are near and dear to them that they want to keep. And some of it can be kept and some of it can't. The reason for taking the board out of the mix is the attorney has done this before and the accountant has done this before. Mm-hmm. They go in and they know what they're charged to do. The department heads present their items to them that they want to keep or that they want to work with. At the end of the day, the workshops are, from what I hear, they're running very smooth. There's no issues. Some of them are coming online and they've really made sincere cuts. And I'm hopeful that as a board we'll have a majority vote when it comes to us to discuss the final budget. These cuts are being are done to try and, again, get us away from the overspending that we seem to be doing in these different departments and to try and get a better handle on it. It's just a simple matter of, because you have money left in your budget at the end of the year, does that mean that it's still there and you can spend it, or does it mean that maybe you should send it back? Maybe you don't need it.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that we've been looking at. A lot of people seem to think, and it's been brought up at different board meetings, a board member has said that items are in their budget. They should be allowed to use it. Mm-hmm. Well, just because it's in a budget doesn't mean that you have to spend it. Mm-hmm. Line items are that, and if they're not used, that doesn't mean you go out and spend them. By all means, you can either give it back or set it aside for next year, but it's not a race to get to the end of the year to spend it.
Right. Now, as people are actually seeing in Seneca Falls, obviously, with this major water main break, there are infrastructure issues. You, from the start of your time on the board, have made addressing infrastructure a priority. Talk to us a little bit about where you think things stand right now, and could the town be doing better as far as attacking more of these infrastructure issues? As seems to be more and more goes wrong. A large water main break that leaves 3 communities without water is a big deal.
That's major, Josh. Absolutely. My first month in office, I was at a water and sewer meeting, and I asked the engineers at that time to put a map on the board with the oldest infrastructure areas on the map identified, and I wanted to take a proactive approach on them. Instead of waiting for problems to happen like we're doing now, I want to be more proactive with it. Mm-hmm. One of the areas they identified was Rumsey Street, Chapel, Miller. We've worked on laterals on both of those streets. We increased the size of the main, the feed. We've gotten them better pressure over on that side of town, and we need to keep those boys working on it.
Right.
It's tough. I mean, it's hard work, but we have to keep going at it. The infrastructure is really lacking. Without the infrastructure, it would be hard to attract businesses to come in and then say, wait a minute, we have to work on the infrastructure before we can sustain your business. Mm-hmm. I know on the southern end in Lodi, I think the county needs to do more on their end. I was talking to a supervisor in Lodi. There's probably 13 wineries down there that would pay whatever they had to pay to get water.
Right.
No water down there. Yeah. That's terrible. In this day and age, everybody's entitled to good water and good facilities.
Right. Now, obviously, there have been some feeling throughout the community that a little bit of this, some of the contentiousness that exists in Seneca Falls is due to some people just playing politics, plain and simple, lobbying from one very hard set point of view to another side. Where do you sort of come down on this debate around, is it politics that's driving the community or holding the community back right now?
I believe to a point it is. I think there's a lot of it's a lot of negativity. I mean, there's a lot of focus in the wrong directions. Mm-hmm. I think, to me, again, the biggest issue with me is infrastructure and business development.
Right.
I think we need to really look at those two big pictures. I feel the money we get from the landfill is needed. It really is, until we can get to a point where it's not. The mm-hmm. landfill put a statement out. They sent one of their flyers that everybody's seen, and we've seen it time and time again, where our taxes would increase 300%. I can tell you that I said to another council person, I said, when I get into work tomorrow, and yes, I work at this, when I get into work tomorrow, I'm going to have hundreds of phone calls on my phone questioning the landfill's blatant lie on that statement. Mm-hmm. Not one person called my office, Josh. Not one person. They don't have to talk to me. All they have to do is talk to our head accountant and say, Bev, is this fact or fiction? Mm-hmm. Is this corporation lying to us? And she would tell them. Anybody can go in and look. It's your money. Mm-hmm. You can go in and look. She'll show you. Tell me how we're going to take care of our infrastructure and grow without that $2.73 million. Right. I don't see how it would happen. I really don't.
Now, one of the really contentious points that has been discussed at length are the employee exits that have taken place. Obviously, Town Attorney Pat Morrell resigned abruptly. A couple changes in the water and sewer administration side. Talk to us a little bit about what, as much as you can, obviously, bound by personnel rules, of course. What can you tell us about the way some of these have played out and what the community reaction has been to it?
It's funny about community reaction because a few short months back, people were asking that the town attorney be removed at meetings. They weren't happy with the way the town attorney was handling town attorney duties. Town attorney duties are really involved. At the end of the day, it's a $12 million corporation. Mr. Morrell was a good attorney. I won't take that away from him, but we needed to go in a different direction.
Right.
Pat Morrell had his practice downtown, and he's very successful. We have a lot of issues as a town. We have the Ludovico Trail that we've been trying to resolve since May, that we still don't have a clue where that's at. We had 2 properties that we wanted to close on, that we finally closed on one, the old hospital and town building that have been going on forever. The other one is the police station, and we've resolved that, the former police station. We came to a compromise on that where they're going to take ownership after the first of the year. Mm-hmm. We've had various easement issues around town where we needed to address them and a little more quickly than what right. We just needed to go in a different direction. What we have now is an attorney with 37 years municipal experience that is he's receiving the same salary as Mr. Morrell, but he's on site 5 days a week. He's on site to answer any questions that come up, to work on town business, to answer any questions for any constituent that comes in and needs advice of an attorney. He's there for them. And we find that very, very positive for the town in general.
All right, so my last question for you is something we discussed a little bit before we came on here. Taxpayers should understand that they're getting value for what they pay, regardless of what their tax rate is.
One thing you brought up, the other personnel matter.
Sure.
That was the personnel clerk. Mm-hmm. That was a confidential resignation letter that was given to the press. Mm-hmm. Okay, it was to be placed in her file. At her exit interview that the attorney and our personnel person conducted with her, they asked if she felt as though anything was wrong with the decision that she was charged to complete. Mm-hmm. At that time, she said no. They said, do you want to talk to a sheriff? Do you want to talk to a town policeman? Do you want to talk to the attorney? No. What she stated in her letter, if you would read it, and you did, was strictly confidential. And what she was asked to do, town taxpayer, a resident, had a water issue. It's completely within, it was a ridiculous bill. Mm-hmm. And in the town code book, it does say that the supervisor and the board can waive that fee to offer relief. These two people are seniors. This bill was a little bit out of their realm. They've been trying to catch up with it. They couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, the reassurances that the attorney gave her weren't good enough, and she chose to go the other way. That's all there was to that. Mm-hmm. That letter was her feelings on what she thought was wrong. Mm-hmm. By no means was anything done illegal there, or was she asked to do anything illegal. And it's a shame, you're talking about politics, that a certain board member would take a confidential document and bring it to the press. Personnel papers are just that. They're personnel papers, and they should be held accountable.
Now, I will say again on air, that document was obtained not through directly, at least none to our recollection, not through any particular board member. It was dropped off at our newsroom, and that was the extent of the interaction.
Right.
But let's
I can speak for probably 6 of us, 5 of us out of the 8, and I know for a fact it wasn't any of us. So okay.
So let's talk a little bit about the service side of it. So services that Seneca Falls residents enjoy because of the money and the tax revenue and the tax dollars that they ultimately spend back. Speak to a little bit about what Seneca Falls offers compared to other similar communities. Obviously, it's quite a bit.
My God. We have Vince's Park. You'll always see something going on out there. You'll always see some party. They had a trooper's retirement out there 2 weeks ago. I mean, what a great facility to have. You have ball fields out there. You have a pool that maybe we need to look at the pool part of it, because that is getting to be a high budget item on the maintenance end of it. You have that park that everybody seems to like. and they use. They use it for retirement parties, baseball, summer picnics. They have a lot of use in that. Mm-hmm. We have a beautiful library.
Yep.
That is state of the art to none. We have a beautiful rec center. I mean, look at the People's Park. Just look at some of the things that we enjoy here that other small towns don't. Our police department. Excuse me. I'm sure you'll be hearing about one of our officers saved a person's life last week with an Archon. Mm-hmm. These are things you can't say enough about the police. I mean, right. Yeah, their budget's up there, and we're working, and we're trying to get it to a point where people will be happy with it, but without forsaking our services.
Right.
The services we enjoy, I mean, a lot of us don't want to be without those services. We have to keep doing what we do. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this isn't possible without the influx of money from Seneca Meadows. Mm-hmm. It's a simple fact. If somebody could show me tomorrow how to make up that difference, I mean, other than saying go to the casino and ask them for more money, right. That pie has already been divvied up. We're getting what we get, and that's it. We need businesses. Along those lines, we're heavily funded in the Seneca Falls Developmental Corp. Mm-hmm. Joel Murney and Greg Zellers, a few other good people. I attend as many of those meetings as I can. And Menzo Case, I take my hat off to these people. They're really going above and beyond, and they have a lot of good prospects that are actually wanting to locate in Seneca Falls. I mean, our tax rate is what it is, and that seems to be a big draw. Right. That $5.50 or change, $5 and change tax rate is a nice draw. Mm-hmm. People realize that as compared to a $15 or $20 tax break. I mean, for that, you could go elsewhere. But right. For $5, that's a nice incentive to locate right here in Seneca Falls. Yep. And to their end, I mean, they're really, really dedicated people that are pushing this hard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate you coming in and being so open with us and talking with us about the things that are happening in Seneca Falls. And I'm sure the residents of Seneca Falls are going to be very thankful that someone has finally stepped up and is talking about these issues that obviously have weighed heavily on their minds for a long time.
Thank you so much, Josh.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back in actually just a few hours with another edition of the Inside the FLX podcast. Until next time, be well.